how best to spend my time inevitably becomes the question. Not because there's not anything to do, but because there's too much to do. And that strikes me as a thing that's just unspeakably sad in a life that's as short as ours. Yeah, it's the life that you choose. You don't know which is going to be better or worse. All that you know is that the life that you choose is the life that you have to live. And so maybe that's part of the secret to happiness, which is to embrace the life that you've chosen. Not to long for the life that you didn't have. Not to long for the things that you didn't choose, but to love the life that you're choosing at the moment. Not to be forgetful of the future, because the future is going to come. But instead to imagine the life as it is right now, and being in the place right now, and choosing to be in the place right now that you want to be. However you answer this question is probably going to turn out to determine if it's a devil or an angel. But let's say that one of those things comes to you, all of eternity. You're going to have to watch your life on repeat. Every decision you've made, everything that you've ever felt, everything you've ever done, just on repeat for all of eternity. I wonder if you would look at that and say, oh yeah, you absolutely are a demon. And you watch that life of yours on repeat for all of eternity. And maybe after the first time you got through it and you could see your own birth, everything that you've done in between, even experience your own death again, and everything that preceded that. And you would look at that angel and say, that was my life? Again. Let's watch it again. And then instead now choose to love the place that you are. Choose to love the people that you're with.
It makes you feel worthy of actually achieving. That's why I wouldn't want to die.
Because what can you achieve when you're dead? That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, because you think about what growth can a God encounter? You know, it's kind of like, what can a God learn? What can a God imagine? I mean, if you already know everything, then you can't learn anything. And if you already know everything, then you really can't imagine anything. You're kind of in this perpetual state of just knowing everything. Like a 7th grader. I don't know, do you accept the fact that you're human? Or different? That's a fast way to really bother me, if you tell me that I'm human. You know, you're human, you have to accept that. I'm just like, no. So I accepted it one day. It was only one day, though. That's as long as it lasted. I got over that shit really fast. Because I was wondering, what is it that's worse? Acknowledging that you're human or living like you are. Because as soon as you acknowledge that you're human, you guys ever get sick before? And you're kind of like, I think I'm getting sick. And then you say to somebody, yeah, I think I'm getting sick. And as soon as you say it out loud, now all of a sudden you get really sick. Or you go to the doctor and the doctor says that you have a flu or whatever, and all of a sudden, you went in just kind of walking in, but as soon as the doctor says you have a flu, now you're limping out of there for some reason. You feel really, really sick once you kind of acknowledge that you are. It's kind of like you gave into it. That kind of happens with acknowledging that we're humans sometimes. That we say, well, I'm flawed, I'm not perfect. But as soon as you kind of acknowledge that about yourself, and we all know it, of course, but when you verbalize it, you kind of give it its own life. And now you've kind of given yourself license to behave like you're mortal. Or you give yourself license to behave like you're not perfect. Which almost sometimes means indulging in the imperfections. Some people maybe can live acknowledging that they're humans. I'm not one of those. Yeah. What would be an example of something like that?
Dropping out of school to start a business.
Yeah, that is a risk. What are you losing if you do that? And I really do mean that. Are you losing education though? I mean, you are if you're getting an education here. In other words, if you're one of those people who, for example, use ChatGPT to do your journal, you think I didn't notice it. What are you really getting out of that besides you're learning how to copy off of a screen? That's when people come along and they say, man, we're going to be replaced by AI. You will be. Yeah, you just proved that you can be replaced by that. But for people who are doing the actual thinking, you won't be as easily replaced by that. And so if you're here to get an education and you're actually getting one, well then yeah, I suppose that makes sense. But if you're not really doing anything here, if you're not really getting an education, if you're just kind of sitting in a chair and burning time, then dropping out probably really is the best thing for you. And people think for some reason that when I say that, that's reverse psychology. I never use reverse psychology. I think reverse psychology is disrespectful towards you. And it's not good to manipulate people into doing something that they otherwise wouldn't choose to do. I'm being direct and I'm being very serious about that, because if you just sit here for the next 2 years or so, that's 2 years that you could have gotten a jump start on your business. And here's something that you may have learned in those next 2 years, that you didn't know what you didn't know, and you are not ready to do it. Because if high school is kicking your ass, entrepreneurship is going to kick the shit out of you. In other words, if you can't motivate yourself to do the things here that you don't want to do, you really think that every part of your entrepreneurship is going to be stuff that you want to do? And if you haven't disciplined yourself to learn how to do the things that you don't want to do, to get the things that you want to do down the road, you're never going to get those things. Because nothing in life is everything that you want it to be. If any of you guys are athletes, and you're in the weight room, and I walk past the weight room, I see two kinds of people. Some people who are getting at it, and some people who are just like touching themselves. Oh, I don't know how sore they are. They're not doing anything. They're just kind of like socializing, hanging out. Why? Because working out is hard. Lifting stuff is hard. It's not just the act of doing it, but it's also psychologically hard. Because I also see a bunch of dudes over there who are lifting way more than they should. They're struggling. They've got bad form. They're just trying to fight this thing up because their friends are nearby. So you're not really growing in that sense either. You're conforming and you're learning how to do that, but you're not getting as strong as you could be if you were just doing things with proper form and proper weight and all that. That's kind of, maybe that's the good part, maybe about acknowledging that you're human, that you'll do the things within your limitations and being aware that you're mortal. Because when you're aware that you're mortal, now you're aware that how you spend your time really matters. How best to spend my time inevitably becomes the question. Not because there's not anything to do, but because there's too much to do. And that strikes me as a thing that's just unspeakably sad in a life that's as short as ours. Because when you realize that there's so much out there to do, and only so many years to do it, well, now you have to choose the things that you're not going to do, and that means you're never going to get to them. And then, of course, there's always a longing in your head. What if I had gone down that path? What if I pursued that thing? What if I had chased this experience? And those are always going to be rose-colored for us. If I had only done this, my life would be so much better. Well, you can't, man. You can't know that. You can imagine it. But I guess that's a difference, number two, between us and the gods. Remember, the gods don't have imagination. They don't have to figure out what's best. They can know what's best. We can't know that. So maybe part of being a human is accepting the fact that we're not gods. We can't know what's best. And instead, we can do something greater than what the gods do, which is to choose to live life anyway and to pursue a path anyway. And if you know what the best path is, then you just kind of do it. But if you don't know what the best path is, but you pursue something anyway, and you embrace the path that you chose, then maybe there's something that's even greater than the gods in that kind of a decision. I don't know. Others? Yeah, so we act like mortals in the things that we fear, and we're like immortals in everything that we desire. Think about the things that we want in life. And sometimes they're pretty humble, they're pretty modest. I talk with some of you, and like the things that you want in life are just like a house, a spouse, 2.5 kids, and a fence, and that's enough. And some people want a hell of a lot, man. And which of those is the better way to go? Yes. Yeah, it's the life that you choose. You don't know which is going to be better or worse. All that you know is that the life that you choose is the life that you have to live. And so maybe that's part of the secret to happiness, which is to embrace the life that you've chosen. Not to long for the life that you didn't have. Not to long for the things that you didn't choose, but to love the life that you're choosing at the moment. Not to be forgetful of the future, because the future is going to come. But instead to imagine the life as it is right now, and being in the place right now and choosing to be in the place right now that you want to be, wherever that is. And so much of that is going to be attitude. It might be, I may have mentioned this to you before, but it's a neat thought experiment to have. Right now, if, let's say, a demon or an angel, however you answer this question is probably going to turn out to determine if it's a devil or an angel. Well, let's say that one of those things comes to you and says to you that you've died and that your life, for now, all of eternity, you're going to have to watch your life on repeat. Every decision you've made, everything that you've ever felt, everything you've ever done, just on repeat for all of eternity. Now I wonder what it is that we would think about that. I wonder if you would look at that and say, oh yeah, you absolutely are a demon. I'm going to have to watch a life of fear and of regret, and not even failure, because failure isn't necessarily a terrible thing, but essentially having to live a life of knowing that there are other choices I should have made and could have made. Or would you look at that being and say, you're an absolute angel, and you watch that life of yours on repeat for all of eternity. And maybe after the first time you got through it, and you could see your own birth, everything that you've done in between, even experience your own death again, and everything that preceded that, and you would look at that angel and say, that was my life? Again, let's watch it again. And for all of eternity, always want to watch that life on repeat. I don't know. Would that be an angel or a demon? An angel or a demon. I don't know. Only you know that. And so I suppose it might be something that's worth figuring out sooner than later. It isn't so much about always being where you want to be, but it's about loving where you are and making the choice to do that. Finding something in the moment, finding something in the situation, finding something in the people around you, and making the choice to at least love where you are, even if it's not exactly where you want to be, because none of us are exactly where we want to be. Some of us would say, like, oh, I'd like to, I wish I was in Egypt looking at the pyramids. I don't know, maybe if you're there, you're like, oh, it's kind of sunny and hot. Never mind. I wish I was in France looking at the Eiffel Tower. And then you're there, and then you're thinking like, I don't know, man, it kind of smells around here because it's near a sewer line. Never mind. Oh, you know where I want to be? I want to be in the Great Wall of China, looking at that, and you realize how damn long it is. And you chose a place that's in the middle of a field somewhere with nothing around it. Or maybe then you say, you know what, forget this. I want to be on the moon. Then you get up there and you realize it's cold. There's nothing there except for dust, and it sucks. And so maybe after going through all of those experiences, maybe you say, you know what, I want to go back to where I was when I first made this decision. And then instead now choose to love the place that you are. Choose to love the people that you're with. I don't know, maybe make some decisions in your life that make you worth being loved and appreciated as well. In other words, sort yourself out. Become somebody that you would admire. Become somebody that you hope your children will admire someday. Give them someone to admire. Give your community someone to admire. It doesn't mean everyone's going to love you. But man, does everybody have to hate you also? Who gives a fuck? Do you have to hate yourself? Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Happy Tuesday.